What's going on, everybody? It's Childish. We're back at it again with the next episode of Educate and Dominate, the one-on-one interview series where we take some of the top names of the game and get their insights so we can bring your game to the next level. My next guest, he's going to be coming on for the first time around here, a Guardian 3 player on the Europe side representing the Legend Rank Guild Requiem. We have ourselves Seiishizo. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. How about yourself?
Oh, man, I'm doing good. Thank you for coming on board and doing this with me. I really do appreciate it.
No problem.
All right. So again, guys, if you're new to the channel, welcome to the channel. The Educate and Dominate series, we're really focused around bringing a lot of different people that excel on that arena side, Guild Wars side, and even RTA side. Today, we're going to be focusing on the arena and Guild Wars side, some of the things that he does to get up in that top rank, as well as some of the big topics that don't really get discussed all too much. We're going to be talking about a little bit of a rune efficiency, rune potential, as well as talking about some of the unique monsters that he utilizes in order to get his high ranks and whatnot. But before we get into all that, let's do what we always love to do for our new guests here. Let's get a little bit of background on you, my man. How'd you even first got started into video games, and then what led your way out to Summoners War?
Okay, so I started video gaming when I was quite young. I like to play games like Final Fantasy.
Okay.
And then moved on to some other console games, pretty much RPGs. Then I got into like online gaming, RuneScape, Maple Stories, always being like competitive for high scores and stuff. Like moved on so and so, at a couple of MMORPGs. Then I was going to abroad for like internships, which
cool.
means I couldn't be playing. So I actually checked up like mobile games to play, and I did play Summoners War like really early, before when there was like only Fame on Hell, and I started the game for like 2-3 days. I didn't understand it. Everyone's getting like these good 4 stars, 5 stars. I didn't understand how, what, or where, and at that point it was like, oh, you have to evolve them. So I evolved my Ardella, which was my best monster at that time, with the rest of my team. You know, it's like, okay, I have a 1 4-star monster right now, and no other team is like, this game, this doesn't work for me. So I quitted it. But then I was like, that game was like a couple of months later, like I was going abroad, and I was like, that game was not that bad. Maybe I should read more into it, like check Reddit, check YouTube. And that's how I started progressing like really fast. I could do like, I started new, and I could do like giants within a month and a half, dragons within like 2 and 3 months. Yeah, that's kind of what we got into Summoners War and gaming.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's crazy. It's you said Ardella and you had me right there. You and I we're in that same category. Didn't have the Lucians that everybody was using, so my team was like Megan, Ardella, Hua, and like Bella. That was my AO team, and I just focused around making the fastest Megan I can, so that essentially, and Ardella had my best runes. Like even by the time I got Lucian, I didn't even realize the value of Lucian. I had everything on Ardella because I just wanted to snipe units one by one, you know. So
yeah, exactly.
that was my strategy. As bad as it was, it worked at that time. But that's for the old school players that know it. So,
yeah.
You know, kind of talking about your climb and how you kind of got started. For all of us, we've all kind of run into some road stops as far as things that have happened along the way on the PvP side that you know, we have gone through, or for some of the people out there, some of the common things that they kind of run into. Out of everything that you've seen since you've been playing, what are some of the common mistakes that people make or don't really focus on when really trying to get competitive into the PvP?
Mainly it's like glory towers, and also like rune potential, because the thing is, everyone can complain about, I'm not getting the good runes, I'm not getting the correct monsters. But the only thing in game that you have full control of progression are the glory towers.
Okay.
It's like you can choose, like I go for speed next, I go for HP next, and you have to win a certain amount of like arena fights, and you will get that. It's not RNG. It's like just no RNG. You have full control, and that's actually some point people are missing out on.
Gotcha. And with regards to those glory towers, is there any of them that you say to focus on over the other? Like first 3 for people that are getting ready to start glory towers right now. What are like the top 3 ones they need to focus on?
First one is speed. Like speed is meta right now, and it just works.
Gotcha.
But besides that, you got HP, attack for everyone. Defense is also good. Defense is underrated, I think. And also the crit damage one, and mainly the crit damage one because it's cheaper than the other ones.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was pretty surprised how cheap the crit damage one was. It was
it's like you're done with it fairly fast compared to like attack. Attack takes like ages, same for speed.
Gotcha. And so something about that I wanted to kind of point out with regards to the speed tower, right? The value of speed is extremely strong. And something that generally gets overlooked, especially in that mid-range kind of like Conqueror 1, Conqueror 2, Conqueror 3. Everybody's trying to create a perfect arena defense, arena offense. So any kind of edge you can get is really, really good. What would you say to somebody that is beginner stages and they already know that the rune quality maybe not there, and you're saying, hey, let's focus on speed. Can you tell me, like in your own words, like why is speed? I mean, speed is meta, but why do you think speed, like with regards to how people go in the meta, like why do you think speed is so important?
The main thing is like, especially with the speed teams, if you can in the first turn make it a 3v4 or a 2v4, you're probably gonna win. Mm-hmm. If you can take in the first turn, you can take some of the enemies out by either immobilizing them or just killing them right off the bat. That's gonna have you the advantage to win the game.
Yep. And I want to throw that out there because again, a lot of people kind of hear that, but they don't want to believe it. But one of the things you're going to notice, not just with Sei's account, but with a lot of endgame players' account, is all the units that we may or may not have. Ultimately, all of them have more kind of that well-rounded quality stat, but you will see quite a bit when it comes to some of these AO monsters that we're going to be taking a look at a little later, that the speed is overwhelming. Like to be competitive as you go along, speed is everything, right? So you got to have it.
Yeah, you gotta exactly. Have it. Speed is king.
Yeah, buddy. Let's see here. So moving into the end game and rush hour topics, one of the things that we wanted to talk about was some of the mistakes Guardians players make, right? We have so many people out there in the community trying to get that Guardian rank or even G2, G3 rank, and they continuously fall out of that. What do you feel is like the number one common mistake that you see people make when it comes to team selection?
Well, the first thing is I want to talk about is like people always complain like, if I had a Pisama, I would be the next rank.
Right.
But the thing is like, there's more people with Pisama than there's actually slots in G1.
Right.
At least I think so. So the thing is like, you really have to be when you're going into your AO, you really have to be certain I'm going to win this. Because if you're not winning, you're losing, which sounds really obvious. Right. But you're going -2. It's like you don't get your points for winning, and you get minus points for losing. So where you essentially would be like 20 points higher than you would be at the point that you're losing. Mm-hmm. And that's really, besides that, you're also fighting against the clock because it's probably rush hour. You have the certain amount of resources in wings that you can play with. You have a limited amount of time that you can play with. And because of that, it's like really important to always win.
Yep, definitely. And this is a weird question. I don't know if it's something that you can answer, but everybody that's competitive understands that we're going to need, to save those wings when we get into that rush to get that on. For you, or maybe you can kind of explain from your perspective, what was the breaking point for you? What was the time where you said, hey, I'm looking to rush hard. Now I want to start investing crystals for refreshes, if you do, or if not, why is the reason why you don't?
Well, the thing is, it's always worth to use crystals for wings because it's gonna boost your glory towers anyways. So even if you didn't get like the next rank and you didn't get more crystals than that you actually spent, it's still worth because you got more glory points and you can upgrade your towers. So you're probably gonna do better next time.
Gotcha. And so, that's like, go ahead.
I think it's always worth it. It's like by the time you get like C1 plus and you have potential to be C2 when you refresh, do it.
Gotcha. And I was going to say that kind of ties in line with regards to your safe kind of, go around with it. If you're not constantly refreshing to get the top 2 people on the list and you're going with, trying to do as much as you can with regards to the list, getting those safe wins in. Every single time you win, you get that bonus when it comes to attack and the HP. So it just makes it even more safe, right? Even safer for you to get it done. So that's really darn good.
Exactly.
And of course, like you said before, obviously you're going in there with the mindset of and the confidence to take the opponent down. I'm assuming that obviously you're not going to even gamble, even if you have a level 6 or level 7, whatever like that. Once you get to that point where you've gotten everybody on the list that you can safely clear, boom, you move on to the next one.
Yeah, it's like I only clear my full list during a midweek. I put like one monster in defense and I just clear list to get the 2 extra wings every 10 wings to progress faster. Gotcha. But as soon as I get, also the thing is I'm a G3 player and last week we had in the top 16, 8 of them were guildies, and most of the lists are 5 guildies and 5 other players. So I'm not gonna clear these lists anyways.
Right. Cool. All right. So I'm going to be looking at quite a few units here. And as I stated before in the beginning of the video, one of the big topics that I have for today that I don't think we've really focused on in the ED series is rune efficiency. So let's go ahead and break it down for the community out there. What is your take? What is your definition of rune efficiency and why is it so important for you?
Well, rune efficiency is, I mostly use the rune optimizer. I'm a really big fan of it. And that gives me the potential to rune optimize by high efficiency. And the thing is at some point a rune is, maybe it's not a lot of something in one stat, but it has every stat and it's quite good in those stats. It could be on every, or yeah, it's difficult to say it. Your attack won't be boosted to the max, but your HP is also good and your speed is also good. And that's really something people have to look into. It's you often hear something no speed, no grats.
Right.
Right. That makes no sense. If the other stats are super good, or even all the other stats are only 20. 20 is not that high, but if all these stats are 20, then you got 80% in total. That's crazy stats.
Right. So is it simply the combination of kind of those max roll stats in combination with the types of stats that kind of go along with the specific rune?
Exactly, and then you also have the enchantment stones. The enchantment stones, for example, could you go to my first solution, the slot 1?
Slot 1? Are we talking about this one here?
Yeah, and then the rune slot 1. This is a 5-star rune, but the HP is plus 18.
Right.
And the other stats is it completely rolled into the crit rate and into the attack. And then you have this one slot that's not useful, but I put HP on it. And now it's 101% efficiency rune for a 5-star.
Yep. And I'm kind of the same way. I have just a couple of units that I still even use to this day that are 5-star runes, and they just, no matter what new runes I get, they're just way more efficient as far as the stats that I'm looking for.
Exactly. I really want to replace this rune, but it's difficult. It's really difficult.
Right. Let's see here, and I think Theomar's. No, I'm sorry, Konamiya. Konamiya has another great rune here. Is it going to be, let's see, the fight one?
The 5-star rune you're talking about?
Yeah, with the rest of rune efficiency here?
The slot 1. I think, slot 1? No, it's slot 5. Yeah, exactly. It's a 5-star rune, but if it's a legendary rune, it has potential to go up to 30 speed maximum.
Gotcha.
And that's something the rest of the stats, they're not that interesting. I think the other one was a flat defense or something. But because of you can enchant HP on it, especially since it's a set that I don't use that often. I have a lot of these laying around. Mm-hmm. And plus 16 HP, it's good. It works.
Gotcha, right on. So taking a look at some of these runes, some of these runes. Some of these runes.
You got them all mixed up, man.
Yeah, I got runes, units. Oh my god. Taking a look at some of these runes on the units. Tell me a little bit about your kind of rune selection when it comes to it. When you get a rune, and we're talking about rune efficiency, rune potential, right? Elaborate on the rune potential aspect and essentially what types of runes do you keep or you recommend keeping?
Yeah. The thing is, I see with a lot of people is 6-star blue runes. For example, a lot of people are it's not hero, it's not legend. I just throw it away. But a 6-star blue rune, even if it has no speed, for example, let's say it has 8 attack and 6 crit rate on violence slot 1, for example. If you would sell that, in my opinion, it could be, let's say everything rolls into attack, maximum roll, 24 attack with 6 speed. Let's say the next stat goes into speed, or 6 crit rate. The next stat goes into speed, and the other one goes into crit damage. Then you probably have the best rune, slot 1 island, that you have.
Right.
Because like it's probably not gonna happen. True. But if you don't try it, it will never happen.
Gotcha.
Same with like a 5-star legendary or even a 5-star hero rune with speed on it. Even if it starts out 3 speed, it can add up 15 or 20 speed. It's probably not going to happen, but same thing. If you don't try it, it never happens.
Gotcha. And it's funny. I'm kind of glad that you mentioned it, because for me, some of the 6-star runes, I've always tried to keep if it only has 2 stats, keep the ones that kind of go in line with the unit, you know, what you're trying to do with it. But sometimes I've made the argument of kind of ixnaying it because of the fact that it didn't have that speed initially, because I was looking to get, you know, I wanted. If I wanted speed on it, I wanted to have, you know, the potential to get into those double digits, like in the plus 20 range and whatnot. So ultimately, what you're saying is, even if you don't have that original speed, but it has the stats that you're looking for, keep on going with it, because you never know. At the end of the day, finishing out, you might just overall get one of the, you know, top unit or top runes that you can get with regards to everything that you're looking for, and then maybe make up for speed in a different slot.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
And it's also like, especially like you're farming a certain dungeon to get runes for a certain monster. But that doesn't necessarily say that if you get like a really good tanky rune, that you have to throw it away. Maybe like your next pull is like a Molong, which uses like these really high HP runes, or just an example, some other monster that can really use that rune really good. Like for example, I remember like I tossed away Rage rune slot 6 hero, which was 6-star, and it was on HP percent. I was like, Rage with HP, that's not mixing up, right?
Right.
But in the end, like, you use it a lot. It's really, really good.
Right. I'll tell you what, some of my best rune units, actually, I have to say that, I know, some of my best rune units are just random, like, broken sets and just focusing on stats. I mean, it's absurd the kind of stats you can get when you you know, play around with rune optimization and see what you can do. So very, very cool. Very, very cool.
Like broken sets are also underrated. Like I think my Alicia is a good example for that. I think she's kind of broken.
Yes, I believe she is. Well, broken in a sense, yeah, but she got
Willblade, not that broken, but it's still it's not a full set, and you're probably expecting like a Will Rage or a Will Swift on it. But with these kind of runes, I'm getting really good overall stats. Like if you just look at the stats, it's like maybe not that good. But then you look at the runes individually, and you're like, damn, that's really upgrading a lot of stats.
Yeah, it is. It is. Let's see here. Alicia is actually, it's funny that you mentioned that. Alicia is one of your arena offense monsters that assists you in climbing or whatnot. Your composition, Alicia, we got Gianna. I'm jelly right now. We got Gianna, we got Galleon, but here's that kind of wild card that people wouldn't expect, right? We got Jameer. Jameer's in this mix here, so let's kind of talk about that a little bit. I know obviously there's only a few percentage of people that have you know, Jameer out there, but sometimes when we think about Jameer, you know, we think about what it could do, what it could provide, but we don't really see the value out of it when it comes to the PvP world. So how has it been, you know, really, really good for you? How have you been able to utilize it?
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, most people see Jameer and they're gonna use it with Katarina or a Lucian to Lucian again. But the thing in my comp is, you've probably all been there, like Galleon doesn't strip, you lose. Or Galleon doesn't armor break, you lose.
Mm-hmm.
Your stripper doesn't strip, you lose. And Jemaya really gives that potential to do another strip, do another time the loot, also do another wave of your AoE attacks. And especially combined with Alicia, it potentially has 4 AoE attacks.
Right. Very, very strong. And for let's say people outside of the PvP world, if they had a Jameer, and you were going to recommend, one of the most useful places that they can really take advantage of, especially if there's somebody that's like still working on their PvE progression. What spot would that be and why?
PvE, it's a little bit more difficult. I've seen some people run it in raids, which has some potential. But the thing is, you really would have to Devilmon to get the skill 3 then. And I think PvE doesn't shine that much. I think it is like mainly PvP and then mainly the arena.
Gotcha. Right on. All right. Let's take a look at some of the other monsters here. I did check out your monster box early on, and one of the cool things that I saw was your Beast Monk. We've all kind of grown up with the concept of early on that Beast Monks can do some really really good damage. Right. It goes based on max HP for one of the 3 slots. So we always like to build HP, crit damage, HP. But as we see more and more on in endgame PvP, people are going away from the critical damage and playing around with those speed subsets here. Tell me a little bit about this strategy, how it's been working for you, and why you think it's so great.
The thing is, like, you're probably thinking like crit damage, you're then gonna do a lot more damage, but that's actually not that true. If I put like my best crit damage rune on it, it's probably gonna do like 3, maybe 4,000 more damage on the 3rd skill. And it's doing like, I think on the armor break, like 16, 17k right now. I'm not really sure. I don't use it that much in offense actually. But the thing is like HP, it also like your 2nd skill is also based off HP. And if you place like a Kumar like this next to a Theomars, your Theomars is always going to be full HP by getting 40% of the HP of a Kumar. And that's why like, and also especially in defense. In defense, if you put him on offense, maybe you can get away with a good crit damage. But especially in defense, I think it's really good to have him on speed HP.
Yep, I like it, and that's kind of the same kind of mindset that I use when people come at me with the, how to build Kamoon, right? Kamoon, really unique monster, providing that shield based on the max HP, and then of course has damage proportionate to the max HP. They're like, oh, if it's proportionate to max HP, let's go ahead and build the critical damage. Me, I think we're kind of in line where we focus on the HP overall, since there's just so much value added between the 2nd and 3rd skill. So that's why you really don't see a lot of people playing around with the critical damage here. So cool. Let's see. I'm trying to think here. Yes, the one and only Konamiya. This is one of the things that we've seen a lot with our different Educate and Dominate guests on the Europe side. You guys are very, very familiar with Vayne Solador. Has 17 Konamiyas built. It looks like you only got 2. But one of the
only 2.
One of the cool things that you got going on here, it's a very strong unit for your AO or GWO comps, is Konamiya Triple Fight. And so we'll be honest with the community. When I saw this initially, I was like, oh man, you went Triple Fight. Like, do you like recommend that? Because I mean, it's so hard to get those runes. And what was your answer to that? Do you remember
that? Yeah. The thing is like, if you get like double S and triple S's on the, I think you need to beat Fire and Light, or Fire and Dark. I think Fire and Light. But if you get double S's, triple S, you're only gonna do like 4 rounds to get 1 rune, and it's not gonna be a 6-star probably be a 5-star. You're gonna have a lot more to do. But the thing is, like, if you do 4 runs of dragons, you're not gonna get a violent rune as well, right? And that's essentially like, it's actually, if you really want to focus on getting one particular rune, it's easier to get those from the new runes like Fight, Enchant, and whatnot, than it's actually to get like a violent rune or a swift rune.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's one of those things where I haven't really played around with it too much because I've been so focused on just regular enchantments and grindstones or whatnot, or just regular runes, that trying to play around with these runes haven't been like my priority. But hopefully down the road I can mess around with it, because I'm actually been working on my Rift Beasts a little bit too myself to try to get it done here. Let me see. I think we got the topic of arena defense. So climbing up in the ranks, there's one thing that is pretty unstable, right? The more we move up in rank, the more we're going to see some uncommon teams, both on the offensive side and the defensive side. And so things that kind of entice you to fight them and try to catch you off guard. And so, obviously having, really strong meta monsters, it helps you out extremely well. But you kind of break that kind of trend, so to speak. You're able to, get up in the high ranks without some of the greatest meta monsters when it comes to arena defense. Why do you think that is?
One of my key things is also I start rush really high.
Okay.
And one of the good things about that is like my arena defense isn't that good. I'm really lacking on arena defense. But since I'm not in the list of like a lot of lower players, they're not gonna pull me down more. I'm like last week I started rushing around like top 10. Gotcha. And that really helps out a lot because my defense compared to my offense is really bad. Simple say. But the thing is, I got like a stall defense, and most of the teams right now are running like one of these speed metas, like Pisamas you see a lot, Chiwus, Chiara leads. But the team of mine it's quite easy to kill, I think. I'm not gonna say here how you can kill it because that's gonna screw me over for sure even more. But I think it's not that difficult, and if you don't have like the defense monsters that much, you could be like, I'm not getting this monster, I need this monster to get like the next rank. You can also just try around, and what's really helping, especially if you go up to like Guardian 1, Guardian 2, you see a lot of the same players.
Right.
And especially in Guardian 3, like I see the same players all week. And when you try something new, like you put in like a new monster, it works. Like people are gonna be, oh, I'm not sure how to beat this yet, and I don't really want to take the risk, so I'm not gonna attack you. And that's the biggest win in Rush Hour. Like if people are not attacking you, that's like perfectly fine. You can climb and no one's dragging you down.
Right, definitely. That's good. That's a great point here. I was thinking about one of our older Educate Dominate guests, Chuffles. He came on board, and he just got his first legend rank, utilizing a double Rakan setup. And so people, obviously, Rakan is one thing, but having a double Rakan, is something that you rarely see. So if people went in there with that mindset, it's like, oh yeah, it's unique, but I still think I can best it because of what I bring to the mix. So most of them, a good chunk of them were wrong, and he was able to get some really clutch defensive wins to help him secure that legend rank spot. So that's what it comes down to, guys.
Exactly.
Just playing around with that mindset and trying to see what you can do to make the best of what you got. Rush Hour, arena defense, and arena defense swaps. This is something that is commonly seen people do in the last 10 to 15 minutes. What is your take on that? Do you like it, not like it? What do you do?
I usually switch around like last 30 minutes. I start with it quite early because like my normal team is also stall, and I'm switching to more stall with adding an arena. But I think it's like, unless you have like a really good team that has potential to get you a lot of defense successes, go for that stall defense, like somewhere like last 15 minutes, last 10 minutes. It works out. But I also know like some of the guys that got legend, and he was switching his defense. He got like a super big monster pool, and he was switching his defense every 5 minutes. And people just got crazy about it. It's like, okay, I can kill him right now, and then you see him next time, it's like, oh no, I can't kill him right now. But you need like a super big monster pool for that, and all of them really good runes, which is like, I only think I know like 2-3 people that can actually pull that off.
Right. And I think one of your, arena defenses, we're running the Wind Monkey King. We got Kumar.
Yes.
And of course, Miss Gianna's up in there, and then I think you said Eladrio?
Yep.
All right. So let me see here. Out of these monsters, it's kind of funny here. When I think about, analyzing stuff that we commonly see or we commonly recommend for like mid-game players, one of the biggest things that we talk about is, units that deter what you commonly would use in the offense. And one of the biggest teams out there is Lucia whatnot here. Taking a look at your setup right now, 3 out of the 4 units are, essentially neutral towards Lucian, which might be inviting. For some of the newer players out there that may be looking to kind of think at that next level and try to cater their defenses to what people see and see if they can catch them off guard. What kind of unique either runes or rune builds on certain monsters that you can use to essentially invite Lucians to come, but kind of trap them when it's too late?
Well, could you go to my Belladion?
We can. Yes, we can.
I think I still have him on the same set. I use him for midweek defenses just to see a lot of wins, and it's funny.
Oh,
it's triple nemesis.
Nasty.
The thing is, like, for like mid-game players, try to build this. It's super fun because the thing is like, if your Baladion goes and he heals, your whole team gets the attack bar boosting and is healed.
Right.
So that's like you're cutting someone, and like a Praha, she's gonna heal, but then you can get more Lucians into it, right?
Right.
A Baladion is gonna boost your attack bar, and then you might even cut. So yeah, these are like one of these things. If you're like a mid-game player and you're saying like nothing works, try this out. I think it will really help.
Gotcha. And then of course, one key thing to mention is, you know, making sure that you know, if you got these kind of runes, whatnot, making sure that you have enough HP to essentially take the hit. I mean, obviously that's very, very important here.
Yeah, enough HP and speed.
Right, and essentially one of the things to kind of point out here too as well, when we think about Baladion, we're like, oh yeah, we got to have X amount of accuracy because we got to use it this, and that. Keep in mind that the recommendations that we're making are for people that have, you know, done the PvE progression, and now they're like, hey, now I want to trick some people, now I want to mess around, and now I want to prioritize my Baladion to catch people off guard the defense. Take note of that because you can take a look at these stats here, and these don't really seem all too PvE friendly. That's the point that we want to try to make here. Whatever you decide to do in this game, make sure that if you're going to go about it, you know, prioritize what you got to do. Focus your runes on what you're trying to accomplish and get it done. The more you spread out the runes into all these different aspects of the game, the more difficult it's going to be harder. You know, it's going to be hard for you to do. Which kind of leads me into my next topic here with regards to Guild Wars. This is something that I talked about in a previous video, as well as something that you are currently doing right now. When it comes to your Guild War offense, you do exceptionally well on the performance end, and for the majority of people out there, they're going to be quite surprised as to the fact that you have literally, you know, 3 basic teams that you use, maybe a couple outside, but 3 strong teams you do use all day, and they're essentially, you know, unbeatable for you. You know, you don't have too much issues. So let's talk about the first one here. We got Bernard, Kona, Lucian. So let's take a look here. Bernard, of course, everybody knows this unit here. We'll look at the stats real quick. Very, very fast here. Tanky.
It's not that fast. Mostly tanky.
Well, and here's the funny thing. To me, looking at a 300 speed Bernard is fast. But yes, competitively at your stage, it is going to be... it's not going to be as fast or whatever. So most people are going to be looking at it and say, oh, here we go. Let's probably use the Konamiya, but not so much here. You actually utilize the triple fight Konamiya. So explain your strategy and why it's been working.
The thing is, like, my Lucian hits about 42k AoE. So pretty much everything dies in the first hit. And for example, let's say Ritesh doesn't die. That's perfectly fine. He's probably going to heal and I beat him next turn.
Right.
And also my Lucian is more a coincidence than actually meant to. It has plus 10k HP.
Yeah, I noticed that here.
Yeah, like a Theomars can proc 2 times and my Lucian can survive. It happens sometimes, so it makes it safe in that way. And it's like, especially like, my Lucian has exceptionally good runes, and that's what makes it works.
Gotcha. Yep, and that's one thing to kind of mention here, and kind of using my own example to do it. One of the things that everybody has seen me do and is I run, you know, initially it was Charlotte, Megan, Lucian, and then now I use Charlotte Bastet, using Bastet for a while. You know, with that particular team, I do not have, the teams that I'm going up against, they're going to have, you know, will runes and whatnot. I'm obviously going to be using Bastet for the first turn, get the attack buff and whatnot. So I'm not going to have any defense break to kind of go in line with Charlotte. My Charlotte Megan or Charlotte Bastet Lucian combination essentially does more or less the same damage, right in that 42k range between both those units. So that's something to point out here. Even though he's using one damage dealer, he's created his team in combination with those runes, the triple 5 runes, to make up for it and get the damage from the ignore defense kind of perspective here. So keep that in mind, guys, because ultimately, you know, in the situation that we just got done talking about, he has been able to basically, you know, really like maximize his Lucian right now, and then of course save runes for other aspects. Where me, in order for me to get that same damage, I'm forced to, you know, use 2 units, play around with the attack bar manipulation on Charlotte. Just to, you know, get my Lucian not cut and hopefully, you know, get that damage done. So pretty unique here.
Yeah. Also, I think it's like let's say he has a defense has a Rakan. Like the other two monsters, like let's say Gemini for Rod, I can easily Lucian those, no problem. And it has a Rakan. Like I'm not gonna Lucian a Rakan. I'm not crazy. I want to win.
Right.
But what can I do? It's like I only need the Kona and the Lucian actually to beat the other twos. And if I have a monster that can solo Rakan, which in my case like something like Cho or Theomars could, I can just bring like Cho, Lucian, and then the fast Konomiya, and I still beat that team really easy. Maybe I'm gonna lose the Lucian, which makes me do that fight as last. But I'm still being able to beat those teams. Like if there's one fire unit, I can just solo it with one of my water units.
Gotcha. And then something that you just kind of mentioned that kind of goes in line with your thought process in the arena side of things. You know, if there is a team that may be a little bit on the gambling side, but you still know you could do well, prioritizing who you decide to attack is very important, because ultimately the biggest mistakes that I see people make is the typical summoner is a greedy summoner. I hate to put it out there, but I'm going to put you on blast. And we when we get into Guild Wars, all we're thinking about is our glory towers, our ifrits, our 4-star river bond, and we're like, hey, in order for me to get more points, I need to hit those +3s all day. There's a reason why people have created the +6 rule, right? They want to be able to make it fair for everybody, but ultimately, you have to leave that greediness, you know, outside the guild wars and do what's best for your guild. And if you're one of those people that can perform well with everybody, great. But ultimately, you're always going to find strong people as you climb up, and so making the appropriate choice to fight, certain people here, certain people there, that's extremely important here. Anything you wanted to add to that?
Well, the thing is, like with your guild, like Guild Wars is a team thing, but a lot of guilds don't really play it as like individuals. For example, in the guild I'm in right now, Requiem, we can beat like pretty much everyone in offense. Like the top 10, top 15 guilds can all beat each other in offense. But let's say you're at a lower guild and like you have a couple of guys that have really good teams against the Shiara Orions, which is really meta right now. It's getting less in meta, but you have like, you can counter those. Let those people attack it. If you don't have a good team against it, don't attack it. Like just organize with your guild, like who has good counters against what, and let those people attack those things they counter. It's like the same as in like a business. Like if everyone does what they're good at, you're gonna be more successful.
Right, exactly. Yeah, stay in your lane, as Kevin Hart would say. If you guys seen the comedian, stay in your lane. Right, I like it. We've already talked about Gianna Gallion and Alicia on the arena side, but one of your other teams I wanted to point out was Theo, Chasun, and Deladrio. This is something that I see a lot of people climbing up decide to use, kind of going with that safe approach here. When I think about Rush Hour, I think about, those 5 to 6 swords that people generally use in the last few hours. And so the coordination and strategy has to be on point. But you, as well as myself, we still have a couple of teams that we kind of play that safer role, making sure that we have the support and running, kind of one damage dealer. Why do you think that is so important for, your viewers to see right here? I see too many people like playing around with YOLO. Why do you like it so much?
The thing, especially like you're tending to see a lot of like at the high end, like defenses that are also kind of YOLO, like Bisama, Bernard, or Orion, and then you have like maybe a Rakan and something else, let's say a Ritesh. It's fairly easy to beat like give them the first turn. They're probably not gonna beat you in one turn if you're tanky enough. And then you can just like clear it up. Like with my monkey does a really good job in it. Chow does a really good job in it. And that's also the thing, like also for arena, it's a lot of people like, I don't have a good Lucian team. I don't have a good cleave team. But I know some players that can go into G3 by just slow clearing everyone. They got like a Wind Panda that's really good for it. Perna that's really good for it. These are like these units. They can beat a whole team. It's going to take you a minute, minute and a half, maybe 2. It's actually not that slow, but they can easily win from those teams that are too reliant on speed and getting the first turn. But if they don't kill anything, they're actually not that good.
Right. And one of the things that I know that you do this too, as well as Vayne Solidor, like some of the teams that you take that have more of those like command-based units, the Konomiya, the Lucian that you focus on, essentially most would think that is a little bit slower, plays versus like a typical Bernard, Megan Evolution, whatever, whatnot. But you guys are so you played it so much that you can move so fast and clear the opponents that you don't lose any time even choosing a team that may not be AO meta or whatever or Guild War offense meta. So very cool. One of the big things that we're talking about here is a variety of natural 5-star monsters, and the argument that we can make is hey, say you can do all this crazy things because you have all these cool little natural 5-stars, and I haven't pulled anything. Twist is not giving me whatnot here. What do you say to the people about the Nat 5s? Is it a good thing? I mean, for me, I want to get as many Nat 5s as possible, but one of the things that you made an argument about is it's not necessarily a bad thing to not have a Nat 5. Why is that?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, when I started playing, I played like really actively, really checking into like a lot of stuff. I progressed super fast, but it took me 8 months to get a Nat 5. But that made me work on like certain monsters, like my Veromos and my Tessarion were like super good runed by that time. So the thing is, like, I could get higher than people that were putting like 10 Nat 5s in the same time because they had to spread the runes around for like 20 monsters, where I only had like 10 monsters runed really good. Right. And that's the thing, like, I see that with a lot of people that are pulling like too many Nat 5s. You're not going to have the Devilmons to Devilmon them all, and you're probably not going to have the runes to rune them all. So having some fewer Nat 5s isn't necessarily a bad thing. It gives you it makes you able to focus more, I think.
Right. So looking at all your units that you got here, we got a lot of units that we currently see, but let's think about some of the units that we, if we don't see, like what are some of the units that people kind of overlook? So if you had a, put out one unit out of the whole, not just your monster box, but the whole list of Summoners War units here, what do you feel is like your number one, like underrated and overlooked either unit or rune, and why?
I think Jemima is like kind of underrated for arena offense, simply because it has so much potential just to reset all these skills and just do it again. Yep, and it's gonna attract like all the fire monsters. It's a really good tank. Damage wise, it's not gonna do much, but I think that's one of the monsters that's really good. And I think for other underrated monsters, I think most of like the meta monsters are still really good. I'm more like a meta follower and a meta guy than like going for all these crazy monsters like with, for example, Faint Solidar does.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and that's something to kind of go in line, for your kind of strategy using Jameer. Maybe in a situation where maybe they don't have like the Alicia and whatnot that you're talking about, but let's say they're running like a Jameer Lucian composition. If you have only a certain amount of runes that lets you get, where's it at? Lets you get these kind of crazy stats, then utilize your Jameer to reset and do it again is obviously going to be a lot better than trying to have two Lucians, one that's extremely rune good and one that's just like barely keeping up. You know what I'm saying? So that's something to think about if you're fortunate enough to have a Jameer. Obviously, not everybody has it, but I'm glad you pointed that out because if everybody knows me from way back in the day, Jameer was my first natural 5-star, and you haven't seen Jameer used on my channel literally in years. If I used it was just RTA, not RTA. I'm sorry. Rift of Worlds, early game Rift of Worlds, where we were talking about, everybody was like, oh yeah, use speed lead. And of course we've broken away from that. We're using critical rate, HP or defense, or critical rate defense and like resistance. So not a lot of people are using speed, at least on the global server. But that's something, that's something to think about because again, it kind of comes down to just whatever you get, right? Trying to make the best of what you got. So,
and I also think Jemima doesn't shine best in Lucians. I think he shines best in Galleon teams.
Galleon teams, okay.
Especially because Galleon, if he doesn't armor break, you can just armor break it again. You have to be tanking enough to get some hits, that's for sure. But for Lucians, it works. I sometimes use it as well. This is my only speed leader, so I use it. But I think especially in like teams where you can also provide them a stun, and then you give them another stun, maybe like Okeanos or something. I think something like that really works.
Right. Cool. Let's see here. With regards to the current status of Arena, Guild Wars, or even RTA, if you want to comment on it, if there was something that you would like to change for the better or for the worse, in a retrospect, what would that be or for why?
The thing I would like to see is like which monsters attacked you. and or like in a game or in my monster box.
So you're saying like if somebody were to fight you and they took you down, you want to be able to see their AL.
Yeah, I want to see. I don't mind, like I don't have to see the runes or like what set or whatever. I don't care about that. It's just like which specific monsters are attacking me. I think it's both good and bad because like a lot of people are going to be like focused on like, oh, I'm getting Lucian all the time, I have to improve on Lucians. But I think that's also a good thing. It's like you know what you have to improve on.
Right, you kind of see what you're counter. See, that's kind of weird, and this is the good thing about having videos like this. Like, I'm kind of borderline on the underside of things, where like, I like the idea of maybe having like a replay or being able to see it. But man, if you see what you're commonly getting attacked by, then sure, on the beneficial side, it'll allow you to kind of fine tune your team and make the adjustments. But ultimately, something about the strategy of offense. Or you just a strategy in general. Something about having something unique that people haven't seen gives you that edge. You know, it kind of gives you the edge sometimes. So it kind of goes both ways. I like it, but I don't. But that's a good thing. You know, maybe that's why CompToS isn't at it, right? Or maybe they're just taking their sweet time. CompToS, if you're hearing me, let's get it going, right? By the way, let's give them a shout out real quick. Replays, RTA replays.
Yeah,
that's very good. I like it. Really cool to see that going there. So. Speaking of which, our replays here on RTA. What about Guild War replays? What do you think about that? That'd be kind of crazy.
I think that would be also cool, and I think also Guild Wars, like you got some meta teams like Coppering, but besides that, like everyone is for Guild Wars it's completely different than Arena because you got your time to do it. You got like 12 hours to think about it. You're probably not gonna think 12 hours about it, but you got like a lot of options to pick. You got your whole monster box. You got like a lot of options to attack, so I think there's a really big variety in monsters that people use compared to Arena.
Sure. Right on. Cool. Well, that pretty much wraps it up for the topics that I have for you, my man. Is there any last words that you wanted to put out there? Any like thoughts that they want to take away, the final thoughts and whatnot from your content?
I think I got one more thing. It's like sometimes people see on a video from like a streamer like, oh, he attacked my defense on this and this, or like I got attacked by this and this. So you have like this little information that we just talked about, like seeing which monster attacked you. And I noticed it with someone who I attacked. It's like I could lose him in 2 seconds. He was like a really top player, and he changed his defense that I couldn't do that anymore. So I lost to him, and then the rest of my guild was like, yeah, but he's like 10 times easier for me right now, so I'm farming him all day.
Right.
So that's also, if you get like a little information but not everything, it's like in general for like everything, if you get like a little information but not the whole picture, you shouldn't necessarily change it.
Gotcha. Okay, right on. And so with regards to shout outs, I want to kind of leave the floor to you. Anybody out there that you just want to give a shout out to?
Well, I want to shout out to my current guild, that's Requiem. Also, my previous guilds that helped me like progress a lot, the Dutchies and Dutch Elite. And for the rest, I want to shout out to my homie Fongi. He's like the guy I raid a lot with, talk a lot with, strategize a lot with. So I think that's about it.
Gotcha. And so let's kind of get in line with the last little bit that we generally talk about on our video. As you guys know, Educate and Dominate, we try to bring as many guests as possible. Get those theories, thought process, something that's people don't necessarily talk about. Taking a look at the people that you are involved with in the G3 community, or even not so much the G3 community, but just late to end game players that just know a lot of great information on that. If there was somebody that you would call out right now that maybe hasn't been on the Educate and Dominate series beforehand, who would that be and why?
That's a little difficult one because I could think of some people, but also like because of their monster box being that good, they are able to perform that well.
Sure.
So that's a difficult one for me to say, but yeah, actually I don't know.
Gotcha. We'll have to think about that, and then if we do, we can put it in the comment section down below. But once again, my man, I know I said it early on, but I really do appreciate you taking the time to do this, guys.
No problem.
I want to let you guys all know that I was watching the video. I've been connecting with a lot of different people on Asia, global, and Europe side to try to keep an eye out for some of these people that are really climbing up, that are very, very good at what they do, but are definitely down to share their information with you. So I really do appreciate you coming aboard, hanging out with us, and providing this knowledge to the community. Thank you so much.
No problem, man.
All right, guys. That's going to be it for this episode of the Educate and Dominate. Thank you all so much for tuning in. It's your boy Childish and Say with Childish Plays checking out. Take care, and we will see you next time, guys. We're out.